Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on the violin plats. As usual, we start by importing the libraries and modules that we need. Import NumPy, Pandas, Seaborn, Matplotlib SpyPlat, and Matplotlib Inline. For this, we'll be using the datasets that Seaborn has. Let's start by using the tips dataset. So first we will need to load the dataset. We'll use SNS Seaborn's load dataset method. Load dataset, and then we'll pass the dataset, which is tips, and we'll save this dataset in a variable called tips. Now we can call the violin plat method to draw a violin plat. So SNS dot violin plat, and then let's see on the tips dataset. So if I call tips.head, we know that we have 5 or 6 columns here, and let's start by drawing a violin plat of one of these columns. So SNS.violin plat, and let's pass one of the columns. So we can say x is equal to tips, and we'll index it. Let's look at the tip column. So we can index it like that. X is equal to tips. Then we passed the tip column. So if we run this, we'll get a violin plat with the tip on the x-axis. Similarly, we can draw a violin plat for the total bill column. Let's look at that. So SNS.violin plat, and then pass the total bill as an index. So total underscore bill. If we run this, we have a violin plat for the total bill. Next, let's look at how we can draw a violin plat for 2 variables, x and y. We'll start by considering maybe size versus total bill, and then we'll look at some other variables. So SNS.violin plat, and then for x, we can pass size, and for our y-axis, let's pass total bill, and our data comes from the tips dataset. So if we run this, we have a violin plat with size on our x-axis and total bill as our y variable. We can also consider other variables that we have from our tips dataset. Let's look at some of those. SNS.violin plat, and for our x-axis, let's use day, and for our y-axis, let's use total bill, and our data comes from the tips dataset. So if we run this, these are the days that we have: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the total bill on our y-axis. Okay, and you can also consider for your x-axis, we can consider smoker and sex, and see what the violin plat looks like. Another thing we can do is we can add a hue. For instance, if we take this violin plat, we have day versus total bill. What we can do is we can add a hue. For instance, we can make the hue smoker or sex, and we can see a violin plat, a pair violin plat for each of the days based on the hue that we pass. Let's see an example of that. So let's use the same violin Plat, and for hue we'll use 6 for instance. So SNS.violin Plat, we have day on the x-axis y total bill, data comes from the tips dataset, and let's use hue 6, and that should be good. So if we run this, so here we have for each day it's divided by sex, male and female. So for instance, on Thursday, more female dined compared to male, and we have total bill. So this is the default coloration. This is the default color. We can also pass an attribute known as palette, and we can pass different colors for that. So if I paste this, you can pass another attribute known as palette, and let's set it to be equal to HUSL. So that's one as a color. So this is what it looks like. Let's see another example for hue. This time let's use smoker. So we have day versus total bill, and let's change this to smoker, and let's leave the palette as HUSL. So this is what it looks like. We have the days Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. On the y-axis we have total bill, and we have paired violin Plats, which is smoker and non-smoker for each day. We can also draw split violins, which means instead of having a pair for each day, we can have one violin and split it into two. One side will be, for this example, smoker, so one side will be this red color, and the other side will be non-smoker and have the green color. So that's what a split violin is. Let's look at an example of that. We have SNS.violin Plat, and then for our x-axis we have day. For our y-axis we have total bill, and for hue we used smoker, right? And data comes from the tips dataset, and to draw a split violin Plat we use the split attribute and set it to be true. Okay, so if I run this, now we have a split violin, a split between smoker, yes, and smoker no, which is in green. So you can tell, you can compare smoker versus non-smoker using the same violin. That's a split violin Plat. Let me copy this and change the color, so we can pass the palette attribute for that, and let's pass another one, cool warm, and this is what it looks like. Another thing we can do with our violin Plats is control the order in which the variables in the x-axis are displayed, the values for our x-axis variable. For instance, here it goes from, the day goes from Thursday to Friday, then Saturday and Sunday. If we want, we can reorder this and make any day appear first, and we are able to do that by passing the order attribute. Let's look at an example of that. So SNS.violin Plat, on the x-axis we have day, and on the y-axis we have total bill. Data comes from the tips dataset, and let's pass a palette of cool warm. And for order, we'll pass the order what we want as a list. So for instance, if we want Saturday to appear first, we can say Saturday first, and then what do we want next? Maybe Thursday. Okay, Thursday. And then let's pass Sunday and Friday next. Friday last. Friday. Let me have this in a new line. Okay. So for the order, we have Saturday first, then Thursday, then Sunday, then Friday. That's the order attribute. So if we run this, we have a violin Plat with the order as we expected: Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, and Friday. And can you do a split violin with this? Yes, you can. All we gotta do is pass our hue. For instance, let's use smoker, and for split, we can simply set it to be true. First, let's pass hue as smoker and show you. So we have paired violins, and then let me copy this and set the split attribute to be true. So here we can pass split is equal to true. If we run this, now we have a split between smoker and non-smokers for the day order that we wanted. And again, we can change the palette to a different color. Let's pass RDBU, and you have RDBU now.